This is David Self. This is my presentation for EDL 853, Module 10, the case study titled, Get This Child Out of My Room. Standards that I'll be addressing during this presentation are Category 2, Teaching and Learning, TL1C, and Category 5, Ethics and Integrity Activities, EI1A. Category 1, Problem Identification and Analysis. This category is broken up into 3 parts. In the first part, asks the question, what do I know? After reading the case study, I know that Schuyler K-12 school is located in a rural area. It has a small student enrollment and shares its resources with about 15 other schools in the district, and it is a school that is financially struggling at the moment. I know that Ms. Susan Green is a new special education teacher who is young, inexperienced, and directly out of college. Based on that fact, I believe she would have a pretty solid understanding of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act and how to properly write and implement an individualized educational plan. However, based on her inexperience, I don't think she would be familiar with or comfortable with the small school setting, how to manage the limited resources they have, and the politics of the small school. I also know that Mrs. Nancy Taylor is a regular education teacher who teaches 3rd grade for about 10 years. She's perceived to be a good teacher. She would be familiar with the Schuyler School's culture, but she seems to be set in her ways as regarding change. And I also know that Carl Hughes is a 3rd grade student whose parents have been divorced for about 3 months. He's been diagnosed with behavior disorder, but it's not severe enough to warrant full-time services. Therefore, he's been placed in a regular education classroom where he has had some self-abusive behavior in the past that goes along with his diagnosis, but now we have an escalating pattern of aggressive behavior towards the teacher, and it could spill over towards the students as well. Continuing with Carl, he has a current intervention plan that's not working anymore, and he has a brother and sister receiving services for emotional problems. He splits time outside of school with both parents, but Carl mainly lives with his mother. What I know about the current situation is that Carl's begun engaging in behaviors that pose a physical threat to the teachers and could eventually pose a physical threat to other students. His current regular education teacher, Mrs. Taylor, wants him removed from the classroom for safety concerns. During a recent IEP meeting, Carl's parents exhibited behavior that they do not currently get along with each other. Carl's dad seems to be disengaged from the process, and his mother appears to be blaming the father for the current situation. There is a new intervention plan written for Carl by the new teacher, Ms. Green, but it's yet to be implemented. In regards to IDEA and IEPs, it appears that Ms. Green's predecessor may not have been following the strict guidelines set forth by that law. The second part of Category 1 asks the question, what more do I need to know? Other details I would want to know are, what kind of details are in Carl's intervention plan that was working but now is not, and how is Ms. Green's new plan different from the old plan? Is special education a priority to this school and the district as a whole? Can this district in its current state with limited resources offer the kind of service that Carl may need? And is there an option for alternative placement for Carl if it comes to that? I'd like to know why Carl isn't receiving the same kind of services for emotional problems that his older siblings are receiving. And I'd like to know if Carl's parents can learn to work together to set aside their differences, their personal differences right now, to make sure that Carl is getting the best decisions in regards to his IEP and his education. I'd also want to know what kind of training and professional development has occurred in the past at the Schuyler School. What kind of training their faculty and staff have received in regards to the proper implementation of IDEA and IEPs. The third part of Category 1 is identifying the problem. Right now we have a student with behavior issues that are escalating. He's showing a more aggressive behavior. This could pose a physical threat to the teachers and to other students. We have a district with limited resources that's fallen on hard times, and we have parents who don't seem to be able to work together or want to work together to make proper decisions for their son's educational needs. We have a teacher, Mrs. Taylor, who wants a quick, easy solution, but this could violate Carl's educational rights. And we also have a faculty and staff that may not be following the strict guidelines set forth by IDEA. Category 2, the proposed plan of action with appropriate strategies for implementation. First, I would propose a plan that would obtain parental consent for a reevaluation for Carl and maybe a new medical diagnosis to see if he's eligible for more services. I would work with Ms. Green to provide additional observations of Carl in other settings outside of Mrs. Taylor's regular education classroom, maybe in the cafeteria, at lunch, during recess, or other exploratory classes to see if this behavior is isolated to that classroom or if it's happening everywhere. I would definitely implement the new intervention plan written by Ms. Green. The old one's not working. Let's get something new in there. I would increase Carl's access and meeting time with the district psychologist and social worker and determine a schedule for Carl's IEP meetings so that his team could meet on a more regular basis to review his progress and decide what kind of adjustments, accommodations, or modifications need to be made. I would also work with Carl's parents to determine right now if maybe only one of them could be present during his IEP meetings. Both of them could be on the IEP team, but right now in their current situation with their personal differences, it just seems that this is adding to the problem. And maybe just having one of them there for the time being until they can get more of their emotions under control about each other, they can make more sound decisions. I definitely think that one thing I would propose is to make sure to maintain communication with both parents. Even if just one of them is present for the meetings, make sure that both are involved and understand and know what's going on. I would also encourage communication and continued communication with Mrs. Taylor and document all communication with both parents and the teachers. I would also want to assign an experienced special education teacher as a mentor to Ms. Green to provide her assistance and increase her skill set as she develops as a teacher. Continuing with my proposed plan, I would also implement a professional development schedule for the Schuyler faculty and staff to re-educate them on the aspects of IDEA and IEPs in the classroom. I would want to approach the District Board of Education about increasing funding or services for students in need of special education services. Category 3, resolve the issues based on promoting the success of all students. By reevaluating Carl and updating his diagnosis, this provides him opportunities to deal with his aggression. Increasing his meetings with the school psychologist and the social worker will provide Carl the tools he needs to deal with his aggressive behaviors. Implementing his new intervention plan, making adjustments to his IEP and adjustments to the success of the new plan will also contribute to a safer learning environment for Carl and for his classmates. And by re-educating the faculty and the staff on IDEA and IEPs, it will keep the school in compliance and allow them to continue to address the needs of all students without the risk of lawsuits or losing funding and accreditation. Category 4, debrief the problem by reflecting on what I was thinking, feeling, and valuing, and by identifying the issues that are unresolved or open to further investigation. I was thinking about with these circumstances are out of the school's control, some of them. And what I'm getting at is the way Carl's parents are not getting along and what he's seeing at home. You know, one thing my current principal always talks about is no matter what's happening outside of school, the kids are still going to show up and we still have to educate them. That's what I was thinking as I was reading through this. I think the root of Carl's problems are based in his parents' divorce and their current situation of not working together. Even though their school can do nothing about that, we still have to make sure we're meeting Carl's needs and providing him the best education possible. As I was going through this, I was, as regards to what I was feeling, there doesn't seem to be a sense of urgency at the school regarding special education. And rather than just following the laws of IDEA and making sure they're in compliance and providing the best educational opportunity for these students, there seems to be a culture of real quick, easy solutions. And as far as what I value during this process, I think Mrs. Green could be a real asset to this school and to the district if given the proper training and support. She seems to be someone who's engaged and wanting to do the right thing. As far as issues that are unresolved or open to further investigations, will Carl's parents set aside their differences long enough to see to his education properly? That's something that remains unresolved. Will the faculty at Schuyler be open to re-education on IDEA and IEPs, or will they stay set in their old ways of quick, easy solutions? And then also, will the Board of Education be open to providing more support and special education services, even if it means cutting funding or service somewhere else? Category 5, Component 1 asks the question, how do you as a school leader promote effective and efficient management of the school or district? In this current case study, by utilizing the school's existing resources, the school psychologist and the social worker, and by providing additional training and appropriately implementing IDEA and IEPs. I think by approaching the BOE to increase support and or funding for special education services, this promotes effective and efficient management of the school and the district. Component 2 asks the question, how do you as the school leader promote the social learning of every student? By increasing Carl's contact time with the district psychologist and social worker, this helps him to de-escalate his aggressive behavior. It creates a safer, less stressful learning environment for all students in the classroom. And as Carl learns to control his emotions, he will not be a distraction to other students, and he'll become a more active member of the class. Component 3 asks the question, how do you as a school leader promote student academic learning? By providing a mentor teacher for Ms. Green, this will assist her in adjusting to her new position. It will increase her effectiveness in addressing the issues regarding special education at Schuyler, since this seems to be an area that's been kind of faltering. By re-educating the faculty and the staff on IDEA and IEP laws, it will address and resolve any issues of noncompliance that was practiced in the past. Also, by complying with IDEA and IEP regulations, the risk to the district is reduced. There could be possible loss of funding, loss of accreditation, possible future lawsuits, and we already have a financially struggling district. So by reducing that risk and implementing this professional development, this would be a way to promote all student learning by not losing the services that are already there. Again, thank you for watching. This is David Self for my presentation for Module 10 and EDL 853.